The Haunted Honeymoon, A Love Beyond Death. Emma and Jake were newlyweds. After a beautiful wedding, they were excited for their honeymoon. They chose a special place, a secluded hotel in the woods. It was an old building with tall, creaky doors and dim lights. The moment they arrived, Emma felt a strange chill in the air. The trees around the hotel looked dark and twisted, almost like they were watching them. As they checked in, the receptionist smiled but had a strange look in her eyes. "Welcome, enjoy your stay," she said, but Emma noticed her hands trembled slightly. The receptionist warned them. "This hotel has many stories. Some say it is haunted," Jake laughed, trying to lighten the mood. "Haunted? That's just a story," he said, pulling Emma closer. They took their bags to their room, which had a big four-poster bed and an antique mirror. The view from the window was beautiful, but Emma felt uneasy. She wanted to explore the hotel, but Jake suggested they relax. "Let's enjoy our honeymoon," he said. That night they heard strange noises, whispers, and soft footsteps outside their door. Emma was curious and wanted to investigate. "What if there's something interesting to see?" she said, but Jake was nervous. "Let's just stay in, it's late," he replied. Emma couldn't shake her curiosity. The next morning, she woke up early, determined to explore the hotel. She wandered through the dim hallways, feeling both excited and scared. The walls were covered in old pictures of people who seemed to stare right at her. In a dark corner of the hallway, she found a door slightly open. It led to a small, dusty room. Inside there was an old box, beautifully carved with strange designs. Emma's heart raced. What could be inside? She wondered. Despite the warnings and Jake's voice in her head telling her to be careful, she reached out and opened the box. As she lifted the lid, a cold wind blew through the room, and the lights flickered, shadows danced on the walls, and Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She had opened something she didn't understand, something dark. Little did she know, her curiosity would change everything. Emma stood frozen, staring at the open box. Inside, she saw an old locket, its silver surface glinting in the dim light. It looked beautiful, but it also felt strange, almost alive. She picked it up, feeling its cool weight in her hand. "Jake, come here," she called, her voice a mix of excitement and fear. Jake walked into the room, rubbing his eyes. "What is it, Emma?" he asked, yawning. When he saw the box, his face turned serious. "You shouldn't be touching that. It's probably not safe." But Emma was already captivated by the locket. She opened it, revealing a faded picture of a woman and a man. They looked so happy. But there was something sad in their eyes. "Look at this, Jake. They look like they have a story to tell," she said, feeling drawn to the image. Jake shook his head. "Emma, we should leave this alone. Remember what the receptionist said about the hotel being haunted?" But Emma couldn't help herself. She wanted to know more. "What if this locket can tell us about the people who lived here?" she insisted. Despite Jake's concerns, Emma decided to wear the locket. As soon as it touched her skin, she felt a strange warmth spread through her body. "See, it's fine," she said, smiling, but Jake looked worried. "I don't like this, Emma. Let's just go back to our room." Emma ignored him and started to explore the rest of the small room. She found dusty old books and faded photographs. Each item seemed to call to her. "There must be more secrets here," she said, excitement bubbling inside her. "Maybe we should go back, Emma," Jake urged, his voice trembling. "This place is giving me the creeps." "Maybe we should go back, Emma," Jake urged, his voice trembling. "This place is giving me the creeps." But Emma was too deep in her curiosity. "Just a little longer," she replied, searching for more hidden treasures. She opened a drawer and found a small diary. The pages were yellowed with age, and the handwriting was delicate. "Look at this," she exclaimed, showing it to Jake. As Emma read, the words told a story of love and loss. The woman in the locket had written about her husband, a man who disappeared mysteriously. "This is so sad," Emma said, her heart aching for the woman. "What happened to him?" Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered violently, and the temperature dropped. Emma shivered. But the pull of the diary and the locket was too strong. "I need to know," she whispered to herself, ignoring Jake's anxious glances. Just then, she heard a soft voice, almost like a whisper. "Help me," it seemed to say. Emma's heart raced. Was she imagining things? She turned to Jake, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" "No, let's get out of here," Jake insisted, pulling at her arm, but Emma felt a connection to the voice. "I can't leave now," she said, determination rising within her. She was in too deep, and the temptation to uncover the truth was overwhelming. Jake looked at her with fear. "Emma, please, we don't know what we're dealing with." But Emma pushed his hand away. "Just a little more, Jake. I can feel it. We're close to something important." And with that, she dove back into the diary, unaware of the darkness she was awakening. The whispers grew louder, filling the room, wrapping around her like a cold fog. Emma had opened Pandora's box, and soon the consequences would follow. As Emma read the diary, the room felt different. The air grew heavy, and shadows twisted around her. The soft whispers turned into urgent cries. Echoing in her ears, "Help me, help us." The voices seemed to come from everywhere, making her heart pound. "Emma, let's go now," Jake shouted, his voice filled with panic. He grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away from the diary. But Emma was lost in the words. The woman in the diary wrote about her love and her fear. She described how the hotel was a prison for lost souls, trapped forever in its walls. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the temperature dropped even more. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "What is happening?" she whispered, looking around. The walls seemed to breathe, and the pictures hung crookedly, as if they were watching her. Jake's face was pale. "We need to leave, now," he yelled again, but Emma felt a strange energy in the room. She was connected to something powerful. She could almost see the woman from the locket, standing in the shadows, reaching out for her. Then, without warning, the room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the whispers grew into a deafening roar. "Release us, set us free." The voices cried, filling Emma's mind with dread. The energy from the box surged through her, making her feel dizzy. Jake pulled her harder. "Emma, we have to go," he begged, desperation in his voice. Finally, she felt his fear and looked at him. His eyes were wide, and she could see he was terrified. "Okay, let's leave," she said, her heart racing. She closed the diary and turned to follow him. But as they stepped back into the hallway, everything had changed. The once familiar hotel felt like a dark maze. The hallways stretched endlessly, and doors that had been open now slammed shut in front of them. "What's happening?" Jake shouted, panic rising. "Maybe we can find another way out," Emma suggested, but she felt the weight of dread on her shoulders. The shadows seemed to move closer, whispering secrets and fears. "Stay close to me," she said, gripping Jake's hand tightly. They ran down the hallway, but the shadows followed them, wrapping around their feet like dark tendrils. Emma felt cold fingers brush against her neck, and she shivered. "We need to hurry," she urged, pulling Jake along. As they turned a corner, they stumbled into a large room filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. The whispers grew louder here, echoing off the walls. "You shouldn't have come here," they warned. "You opened the box." Emma felt a wave of guilt wash over her. She had opened Pandora's box, and now the hotel was alive with anger and sorrow. The spirits were restless, and she could feel their pain. "I didn't mean to," she cried out, but her words were swallowed by the growing chaos. Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. It was the woman from the locket, her face twisted in sorrow. "Help me," she pleaded, reaching out with a ghostly hand. Emma felt her heart ache for the spirit, but she was also terrified. "Don't touch her," Jake shouted, pulling Emma back, but it was too late. Emma felt an invisible force pulling her toward the spirit. "No, Emma," Jake yelled, desperation in his voice. The spirit looked into Emma's eyes, and suddenly she was flooded with visions. She saw the woman's love story, filled with joy but also heartbreak. The hotel was a place of pain, a trap for souls who could not move on. Emma felt the weight of the woman's sadness, and in that moment she understood. "Please, I want to help you," Emma said, tears streaming down her face, but the shadows around them grew darker, swirling in anger. The hotel was alive, and it wanted to keep them trapped forever. "Emma, we have to get out." Jake pulled at her again, but the force holding her was too strong. She was torn between the world of the living and the cries of the lost souls. In that moment, Emma realized the terrible truth. Her curiosity had unleashed something she couldn't control. The consequences of opening the box were not just for her, but for Jake too. The darkness was spreading, and soon it would consume them both. As Emma struggled against the dark force pulling her, the whispers grew louder and more frantic. Shadows swirled around Jake, making it hard for him to see. He felt panic rising in his chest. "Emma, I can't lose you. We need to fight this," he shouted, but his voice seemed small against the growing storm of shadows. Suddenly, the ghostly woman's face twisted with pain. "You opened the box, now we are free but also trapped," she cried. Emma could feel the sorrow of the spirits. They were angry, lost, and desperate for help. The hotel felt like a living thing, shaking with their rage. The air became thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. Jake pulled Emma closer, but the shadows pressed against them, whispering secrets that made their skin crawl. "You have released us, but now you must pay," the voices echoed, their tone cold and threatening. Emma's heart raced. She looked around, seeing the shadows reaching for them. They moved like tendrils snaking through the air. "We have to find a way out," she yelled, her voice shaky, but the hotel had changed. Hallways twisted and turned, leading them in circles. "Look!" Jake pointed to a door at the end of the hall. It was slightly ajar, and a faint light glowed from inside. "Maybe that's the way out," he said, hope shining in his eyes. Together they ran toward the door. But as they got closer, the shadows thickened, blocking their path. "No, you cannot leave," the whispers hissed. Emma felt fear creeping in again. What do they want? She wondered. The spirits were restless, and their anger filled the air like a storm about to break. As they reached the door, Emma pushed it open, and they stepped into a large room filled with mirrors. The walls sparkled and shimmered, but the reflections were not normal. In the mirrors, they saw ghostly figures, all looking back at them. Some were smiling, while others were crying, their faces filled with sorrow. "Emma, what is this place?" Jake asked, his voice trembling. "It feels wrong." Emma's heart sank. "I think these are the spirits. They are trapped here, like the woman from the locket," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Suddenly, the mirrors began to ripple, and the figures stepped forward, reaching out with ghostly hands. "You must help us," they cried in unison. "You have released us, but you must find a way to set us free." The room echoed with their pleas, filling Emma with dread. "No, I don't know how," she shouted, feeling overwhelmed. The shadows pressed in closer, and the temperature dropped. Jake grabbed her hand tightly, trying to keep her grounded. "We can do this together, Emma. We have to fight." But the shadows were relentless. They swirled around them, whispering terrible secrets. "You are part of this now. You cannot escape." Emma felt the darkness crawling up her legs, wrapping around her like a vice. She squeezed Jake's hand tighter, feeling his warmth against the cold. The spirits in the mirrors looked desperate. "You must find the heart of the hotel. Only then can you break the curse." One spirit cried, pointing toward a dark corner of the room. Emma's eyes widened. "The heart? What does that mean?" "We will show you," the spirits promised, their voices mingling together. Emma felt a strange pull toward the dark corner. "Jake, we have to go," she urged, but he hesitated. "What if it's a trap?" "Do you want to stay here forever?" Emma replied, fear in her eyes. She took a deep breath, filled with determination. They had to try. Together, they moved toward the darkness, feeling the shadows clawing at them, desperate to pull them back. As they reached the corner, they saw a small door hidden behind a curtain of shadows. Emma pushed it open, revealing a staircase that spiraled down into darkness. "This must be it," she exclaimed. They could hear the echoes of the spirits urging them forward. "We have to hurry," Jake said, looking over his shoulder. The whispers grew louder, and the shadows threatened to swallow them whole. Hand in hand, they stepped down into the dark, not knowing what awaited them below. The chaos had spread, and they were now part of a struggle for their lives and the lives of the lost souls around them. Emma and Jake carefully stepped down the narrow staircase, the air growing colder with each step. The darkness wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, making it hard to see. The whispers echoed off the stone walls, filling the space with a sense of dread. "We have to keep going," Emma urged, her voice steady despite her fear. As they reached the bottom, they found themselves in a dimly lit room. It was filled with old furniture covered in dust, and the air smelled musty. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like old curtains. In the center of the room was a large, ancient-looking chest. "Maybe this is the heart of the hotel," Jake said, pointing to the chest. Emma nodded but felt a wave of anxiety. "What if opening it makes things worse?" she asked. "We don't have a choice," Jake replied, his voice firm. "We have to try." They both felt the pressure of time. The whispers were growing louder, and the shadows were creeping closer. Together, they moved toward the chest. Emma reached out and lifted the heavy lid. Inside, they found a collection of old letters, photographs, and a strange glowing crystal. The crystal pulsed with light, and Emma felt a strange energy coming from it. "What is this?" she wondered, picking it up. As she held the crystal, visions flooded her mind. She saw the woman from the locket, trapped and crying. "Help us!" the vision shouted. Her face full of pain, Emma's heart ached. "We need to set them free," she said, turning to Jake. "But how?" Just then, the shadows began to swirl around them, darker and more aggressive. "You cannot help them," they hissed, their voices like nails on a chalkboard. Emma felt fear grip her heart, but she held the crystal tightly. "We have to believe," she whispered to Jake. "Let's use the crystal," Jake suggested, his eyes bright with hope. "Maybe it can help the spirits." Emma nodded, taking a deep breath. Together, they moved to the center of the room. The shadows loomed closer, trying to envelop them. "We have to focus," Jake shouted over the noise. Holding hands, they closed their eyes. Emma thought of the woman's sadness, the love story that had ended in tragedy. "We want to help you," she cried out, feeling the energy of the crystal surge through her. "We will set you free." The shadows recoiled, but then surged forward more furious than before. "No, you will be ours," they screamed. Emma felt the cold grip of fear tighten around her. "Jake, hold on," she shouted. They both concentrated on the crystal, pouring all their hope into it. Suddenly, the crystal glowed brighter, filling the room with a warm light. The shadows shrieked, their forms twisting and writhing. "You cannot fight us," they roared, but the light pushed them back. Emma felt a rush of strength. "We can do this," she encouraged Jake. With one final burst of energy, Emma shouted, "We release you, find peace." The crystal pulsed even brighter, sending out waves of light that spread across the room. The shadows screamed and faded, their dark forms dissolving into nothingness. As the light washed over them, Emma and Jake felt a sense of calm. The room transformed, the dust and darkness lifting. The spirits began to appear, their faces no longer twisted with pain. "Thank you," they cried, their voices soft and grateful. But the shadows weren't finished yet. A massive dark figure loomed in the corner, more powerful than the others. "You think you can win?" it boomed, its voice echoing like thunder. Emma and Jake froze, fear gripping their hearts again. "Stay strong," Jake urged, holding Emma's hand tightly. They couldn't give up now. The light from the crystal illuminated the dark figure, revealing its twisted form. It was the embodiment of all the sorrow and anger in the hotel. "Together," Emma shouted, and they focused all their energy into the crystal. The light became a beacon. Pushing against the darkness, the figure writhed in pain, its shape flickering. "No, I will not be defeated," it roared. But Emma and Jake stood firm, their hearts united. "You have no power over us," they yelled together. The crystal blazed with light, and with one final push, they unleashed all their hope. The dark figure shrieked, a sound filled with rage and despair, and then it exploded in a flash of light, scattering the remaining shadows into the corners of the room. The spirits cheered, their forms glowing with peace. Emma and Jake felt a wave of relief wash over them. Breathing heavily, they looked at each other. They had fought hard, but the struggle was not over yet. They knew they had to find a way to truly set the spirits free. And they could feel the connection growing stronger with each passing moment. Together, they would face whatever came next. After the dark figure exploded into light, Emma and Jake felt a strange calm wash over the room. The shadows that had chased them were gone, and the spirits glowed softly around them, their faces peaceful and grateful. Emma looked at Jake, her heart full of hope. "Maybe we really can help them," she said, her voice bright. One of the spirits, a woman with kind eyes, floated closer. "You have done well, but the hotel still holds many secrets. The curse is not broken yet," she said gently. Emma's heart sank. "What do we need to do?" she asked, determined to finish what they started. The spirit pointed to the glowing crystal in Emma's hand. "This crystal is powerful. It holds the memories of the hotel. If you can unlock its true power, you can free us all," she explained. "But you must be brave. The heart of the hotel is still hidden, and the shadows will try to stop you." Jake squeezed Emma's hand, and she felt a rush of courage. "We can do this together," he said. "We've come this far. We won't give up now." Emma nodded, feeling the warmth of his support. "Let's find the heart and break the curse," she agreed. The spirit smiled. "Follow the light of the crystal. It will guide you to the heart," she instructed. Emma held the crystal tightly, and its warm glow brightened, lighting up the room. They could see a path forming in the shadows, leading deeper into the hotel. As they moved forward, Emma felt a new strength inside her. The fear that had gripped her before started to fade. With every step, She felt connected to the spirits and their stories. They had all suffered, and she wanted to help them find peace. The path twisted and turned, leading them to a small door at the end of a dark hallway. Emma could feel the energy of the crystal growing stronger. "This must be it," she said, excitement bubbling inside her. They opened the door slowly, and the light from the crystal poured into the room. Inside, they found a large, empty space filled with dust and shadows. In the center stood a stone altar covered in old symbols. Emma felt a pull toward it, as if the altar was calling her name. "This is the heart of the hotel," she whispered, awe in her voice. Jake stepped forward, looking at the altar with wonder. "We have to place the crystal here," he said, glancing at Emma. "This is how we can unlock its true power." Emma nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. Together, they approached the altar, the crystal glowing brighter in their hands. As they reached the altar, the shadows began to swirl around them again, angry and desperate. "You will not succeed," they screeched, their voices filling the room with noise, but Emma and Jake stood strong. "We have to believe," Emma shouted, her voice full of determination. They placed the crystal on the altar, and as it touched the stone, a brilliant light erupted from it. The symbols on the altar began to glow. Lighting up the room, Emma felt a surge of energy, like the spirits were joining them, filling the space with hope. "Free us!" the spirits cried out, their voices rising in a harmonious chorus. Emma closed her eyes, letting the energy wash over her. She felt their pain and their love, and she poured all her feelings into the crystal. Suddenly, the shadows began to retreat, their forms shrinking back in fear. The light grew stronger, illuminating every corner of the room. "You cannot hold us anymore," Emma shouted, her voice echoing with power. The altar glowed brighter and brighter, and the spirits danced in the light, their faces filled with joy. Emma and Jake held hands tightly, feeling their hearts beating as one. "This is it, we're breaking the curse," Jake yelled, filled with excitement. With one final burst of energy, the crystal released a wave of light that washed over everything. The shadows screamed and faded, and the room filled with laughter and happiness. Emma opened her eyes and saw the spirits transforming, their sad faces now bright and free. Thank you," they cheered, their voices ringing in the air. Emma and Jake looked at each other, tears of joy in their eyes. They had done it. They had found hope in the darkest place and helped the spirits find peace. But in the back of Emma's mind, a small worry remained. Was this truly the end? She looked around, feeling the energy of the hotel shift. What happens now? She wondered aloud, but for now, they could celebrate the victory. Hope was alive, and together, they would face whatever came next. As the light from the crystal faded, Emma and Jake felt a sense of peace wash over them. The spirits danced around the room, their faces filled with joy. They had broken the curse, but Emma sensed that something was still not right. The energy in the hotel felt different, and the air was thick with tension. "Is it really over?" Emma asked, her voice shaking slightly. Jake looked around, his brow furrowed. "I don't know," he replied, worry in his eyes. "It feels like there's still something we need to do." Just then, the kind spirit they had spoken to earlier floated closer. "You have done well, but the hotel still holds a secret," she said softly. "To fully release us, you must make a choice, a final decision that will determine the fate of the hotel and the spirits trapped here." Emma's heart raced. "What kind of choice?" she asked, fear creeping in. The spirit's expression was serious. "You must decide whether to release the energy of the hotel completely or keep it contained to protect the living. Your choice will affect both worlds." Jake looked at Emma, his eyes wide with concern. "What if we let it go? What if the spirits come back for revenge?" he asked. "But what if we keep it contained? Will the spirits be trapped forever?" Emma replied, feeling torn. The spirit nodded, understanding their struggle. "It is a heavy burden, but only you can make this choice. Trust your hearts." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She thought about the spirits, their sadness, their love, and their longing for freedom. "I want them to be free," Emma said firmly. "They deserve peace, but what if it brings danger to others?" Jake bit his lip, uncertain. "We can't risk the living getting hurt, but we also can't let them suffer forever." The room grew quiet, and the spirits waited, their eyes filled with hope and fear. Emma closed her eyes, searching her heart. She thought of the woman in the locket, the love story that had ended so tragically. "They were in pain," she whispered. "We have to help them." Jake nodded slowly, his expression softening. Maybe we can find a way to release them safely. We can protect others and set the spirits free. Emma felt a spark of hope. Yes, we can do both. With newfound determination, they turned to the spirit. We want to help you find peace, but we also want to keep others safe. Can we do that? Emma asked, her voice steady. The spirit smiled gently. Your hearts are pure. Together, you can find a way. Emma and Jake took a deep breath and approached the altar once more. They focused on the crystal. Feeling its energy pulsing in their hands, "We release you," they shouted together, "but we will protect the living." As they spoke, the crystal glowed brightly again, illuminating the room. The spirits began to swirl around them, their forms merging with the light. Thank you," they called, their voices filled with joy. The shadows that had threatened them before started to dissolve, replaced by a warm light. Emma and Jake felt the energy of the hotel shift, becoming lighter and brighter. The spirits were finding their way home, free at last. But as the last of the shadows faded, a strong wind rushed through the room, and the walls began to tremble. "What is happening?" Jake shouted, holding on to Emma tightly. The light from the crystal pulsed and flickered, and Emma realized they had to finish the decision. "Hold on," Emma yelled. "We need to direct this energy." She focused all her thoughts and feelings into the crystal, channeling the power to create a safe space for the spirits while protecting the living. With a final burst of light, the spirits soared upward, breaking through the ceiling and into the sky. Emma felt the warmth of their gratitude wrapping around her like a gentle hug. "You did it," Jake exclaimed, tears of relief streaming down his face. But as the spirits vanished, the hotel shook violently, the walls creaked, and Emma felt a wave of fear wash over her. "What's happening?" she cried. "Is it collapsing?" "No," the spirit whispered urgently. "You have released the energy, but the hotel must change. You must decide to let it go." Emma and Jake exchanged a quick glance. "Together," they said in unison. With all their strength, they placed their hands on the crystal one last time. "We let go of the darkness," they shouted. "We choose light and love." In that moment, the hotel erupted in a blinding light. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her, but she stood firm, focused on their choice. The energy surged through the hotel, transforming it into a bright and beautiful space. As the light faded, Emma and Jake found themselves outside the hotel, standing on a grassy hill. The building had changed, looking warm and inviting, filled with life instead of darkness. The spirits were gone, but their presence lingered, a gentle reminder of their love. "Did we do it?" Jake asked, looking around in wonder. Emma smiled through her tears. "I think we did. They are free now." Together, they turned away from the hotel, ready to start a new chapter in their lives, filled with hope and love. They had made the final decision, and in doing so, they had changed everything. As Emma and Jake stood on the grassy hill, the sunlight shone down on them, warming their faces. The hotel now looked peaceful, but a small worry still nagged at Emma's heart. "What if the spirits need us again?" she asked, looking at Jake. "What if they're still trapped somewhere?" Jake nodded, understanding her fear. "We did what we could, but if there's still darkness, we must be ready to fight again," he replied, determination in his voice. Emma felt a wave of gratitude for Jake. They had faced so much together, and she knew they would face whatever came next, side by side. Just then, the kind spirit they had spoken to before appeared before them, shimmering in the sunlight. "You have done so well," she said softly, "but there is one more task you must complete, a final sacrifice." Emma felt her heart race. "What do you mean? What kind of sacrifice?" she asked, her voice trembling. The spirit looked serious. "To truly protect the living and ensure the darkness does not return, one of you must stay behind. You must guard this place." Jake's eyes widened in shock. "No, we can't leave each other," he protested, stepping closer to Emma. "We've come this far together. I won't let you stay alone." But the spirit shook her head. "It must be done. The bond you created with the hotel can only be kept by one. The other must go back to the world of the living." Emma felt tears fill her eyes. "But I don't want to be apart. I love you, Jake," she cried. "I love you too, Emma," Jake shouted, his voice filled with emotion. "But we can't let the darkness return. If this is what we must do, then we will do it together." Emma's heart ached at the thought of losing him. The spirit watched them, her expression filled with compassion. You have both shown great love and courage, but you must decide who will stay and who will go. Emma felt a wave of panic. I can't make this choice. Maybe we can find another way, Jake suggested, his eyes searching hers. What if we both stay? We can fight together. But the spirit shook her head again. It is not possible. The hotel needs a guardian, a single protector. Emma felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She thought about the spirits they had freed and the love they shared. What if I stay? She said softly. I can protect the hotel and keep the spirits safe. No, Emma, you have a life outside of this place, Jake argued, panic in his voice. You deserve to live, to be free. I will stay. Emma shook her head fiercely. I won't let you do that. I can't lose you. The spirit intervened gently. You both have strong hearts, but you must understand, the guardian's task is heavy and lonely. It is a life of sacrifice. Are you prepared for that? Emma felt a shiver run through her. The thought of being alone in the hotel, guarding the spirits, was terrifying. But she also knew that the darkness could return. I want to protect them, she said, her voice firm. I want to protect you, Jake. Emma, Jake said softly, tears in his eyes. You are my heart. I can't let you do this alone, but if it must be one of us, then it should be me. He stepped closer, taking her hands in his. I will stay. I will be the guardian. No, please. Emma begged, her voice breaking. I can't bear the thought of you staying here alone. It's too dangerous. Jake looked deep into her eyes, and she saw the love he had for her. Emma, listen. You have so much to live for. You can help others. I can do this. I will protect you from afar. Tears streamed down Emma's face. She felt her heart breaking. But I don't want to lose you, she cried. Jake wiped her tears away gently. You won't lose me. I will always be with you in your heart. The spirit watched quietly, allowing them their moment. Finally, Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. If you stay, promise me you will be safe. And I promise I will never forget you, she said, her voice shaky but determined. Jake smiled softly, though his eyes were filled with sadness. I promise. I will guard this place, and I will keep the darkness away. You must live your life, Emma. Remember our love. With a heavy heart, Emma nodded. She knew what needed to be done. I will always love you, Jake, she whispered, pulling him into a tight embrace. They held each other tightly, knowing that this was their last moment together. The spirit stepped forward, her light glowing brightly. It is time, she said gently. Emma felt a pang of fear but also a strange sense of peace. Jake would protect the hotel, and she would carry his love with her wherever she went. As they pulled away from each other, Jake took one last look at Emma. Go now, live, love, and be happy. I will always be with you, he said, his voice strong. Emma nodded, tears still in her eyes. I love you, she said, her heart aching. The spirit raised her hand, and a bright light surrounded Jake. Emma stepped back, feeling the warmth of his love even as the light enveloped him. The last thing she saw was Jake's smile, full of love and strength. And then he was gone, transformed into the guardian of the hotel. Emma stood alone on the hill, her heart heavy but filled with hope. She had made the ultimate sacrifice, and she would honor Jake's memory by living fully, carrying his love in her heart forever. After Jake disappeared into the light, Emma stood alone on the hill, her heart heavy with sorrow. The hotel looked peaceful now. The darkness gone, but she felt an emptiness inside. I miss you already, Jake, she whispered, her voice trembling. As she turned away from the hotel, she remembered all their moments together. The laughter, the love, the adventures they had shared. Each memory felt like a warm hug, but it also reminded her of the sacrifice they made. Emma wiped her tears and took a deep breath. I will live for you, she promised. Days turned into weeks, and Emma tried to return to her life. She moved back to her old home, but things felt different. The laughter of friends, the warmth of family, it all felt muted. Emma often found herself looking up at the sky, hoping to feel Jake's presence. Are you watching over me? She would ask, hoping for a sign. One evening, while sitting on her porch, Emma noticed a soft glow in the sky. It was like a small star shining brightly. She felt a rush of warmth in her heart. Jake, she whispered, feeling a connection. The glow flickered, almost like a response. Emma smiled, her heart swelling with hope. You're still with me. With each passing day, Emma began to find small ways to honor Jake's memory. She started volunteering at a local shelter, helping those in need. Each time she helped someone, she felt Jake's spirit with her, guiding her. You would be proud, she would say, as if he could hear her. But there was always a question in her mind. Was Jake truly gone, or was he watching her from the hotel, guarding the spirits they had freed? Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the hotel was still alive, still holding memories of their love. One night, during a full moon, Emma felt a strong urge to visit the hotel again. She drove back, the road winding through the dark forest. As she approached, the hotel stood tall against the moonlight, looking more beautiful than ever. The air was filled with a sense of magic, as if it was waiting for her. Emma stepped inside, her heart racing. The light from the crystal still glowed softly in the main hall, a reminder of their victory. "Jake," she called, her voice echoing in the silence. She felt a rush of energy as she walked deeper into the hotel. The spirits were free, but she knew Jake was still there, watching over her. As she entered the room where they had fought the darkness, she saw a flicker of light. It was a small orb, glowing softly in the corner. Emma felt drawn to it. "Is this you, Jake?" she asked, her heart pounding. The orb pulsed gently, and she felt a warmth envelop her. Emma reached out, and as her fingers touched the orb, visions flooded her mind. She saw Jake, smiling and strong, standing at the altar. "I am here, Emma. I will always be with you," he said, his voice echoing in her heart. Tears streamed down her face. "I love you," she cried. The visions shifted, showing her memories of their time together, their first kiss, the laughter, the dreams they shared. But then, she saw a dark shadow trying to creep back into the hotel, like a reminder of the past. "No," she shouted, feeling a surge of determination. "You cannot come back." With a fierce heart, Emma concentrated on the light from the orb. "I will protect this place," she declared. The orb glowed brighter, and she felt the energy of all the spirits around her, joining her in the fight. The dark shadow retreated, disappearing into the corners of the room. As the light filled the space, Emma realized something important. The hotel was not just a place, it was a living memory of love and sacrifice. Jake's spirit was forever connected to it. She understood now that he would always be with her, guiding her, protecting her. With a sense of peace, Emma left the hotel, knowing that her love for Jake would never fade. She had made the ultimate sacrifice. But in doing so, she had discovered a deeper truth. Love transcends time and space, and it can never truly be lost. As she drove home, the small glow in the sky twinkled brighter, as if Jake was sending her a message. Emma smiled, feeling warmth in her heart. "I will live for us, Jake. I will carry your love with me always." And so Emma continued her life, filled with purpose and hope. The hotel remained a beacon of love, and she knew that even in the darkest moments, she would never be alone. The enigma of love and sacrifice would forever guide her, lighting her path as she moved forward.